Thank you. Before we start, if you could indulge me, I want to send a photo to my daughter. So, I don't know if I can see you, but let's give it a try. So on the count of three, if you could wave at me, and my daughter would really appreciate it. All right? So 1, 2, 3, go. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, let's get started. So, my name is Hannu. I'm from Helsinki, Finland, where the weather is a lot more worse than in Berlin. Yeah, I'm a designer. I help companies build digital products and services. I work for a company called Reaktor, and super happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Today I'm going to get slightly philosophical. I want to talk about the nature of the internet, its fluidity, its nature of, ever changing, becoming more and more complex at a rapid pace, and what it means for us designers to try and design something meaningful for a medium like that basically changes its nature every day. More specifically, I want to talk about how the compounding complexity of the internet might require some changing in how we approach designing for it, for us to be able to continue producing digital products that actually create real value. And how we need to adopt a mindset that allows for us to respond to change better, more quicker, more efficiently, for us to be able to do that. And finally, I'm going to entertain some principles that I'm trying to strive for, trying to adopt to continue doing good design today and beyond. I'm very much a product of the internet, and I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people like me in this room right now. As a person, as a professional, I'm very much made by the internet. Since I've been a teenager, if you think about any significant thing that has happened to me or shaped my identity, internet has had something to do with it. It has given me gaming, it's introduced me to these subcultures and communities that I didn't know that existed. It gave me punk music, it gave me skateboarding, all of these things that have had a substantial impact in shaping my identity when I've been growing up and becoming an adult. It also gave me my wife, so thank you, Facebook. It also made me a designer. It also gave me my job. It gave me this opportunity to become a creator, to be able to draw and shape things first, just for fun, but later to benefit others as well. I don't think that I was never, deemed as an artistic kid. I never, showed any skills, any natural skills for the arts or for the drawing, but I was super into gaming at an early age. When I was a teenager, I spent a lot of my time playing computer games with my friends, and especially increasingly playing online with and against others. When me and my friends were introduced to this gaming mod called Action Quake 2, some examples here on the screen, some of you might know it, but one of the really important things about this gaming mod is that it's content-wise, it's very community-driven. Basically, all the maps, the playing arenas, whatnot, are created by people in the community actually involved in playing this game. And me and my friends, we became infatuated by this. We started creating custom maps, playing arenas, if you will. We started, creating textures for those maps, like working on the smallest possible details, even though, we didn't know what we were doing. And later on, it, evolved into creating websites for our gaming crews and clans. And, I like to think that my path to design started from there, like I was given means to create something on my own and put it out there for others to interact with it. And in some ways, I've been doing it since then, even though, the context and what I'm actually putting out there has changed. Moving on, I think my path in design has been quite similar to a lot of people here. I had a period when I was doing maybe more traditional graphic design in print media. I was working in the arts and cultural sectors, later worked in advertising, and then slowly, been transitioning to creating digital products and services for companies and organizations. If it's not evident by now, I love the internet. I love how it's able to connect me with people, with information, with experiences that I didn't even know that existed. But the internet also scares me. The internet is bewildering in how it's able to change so quickly, how uncontrollable it is in its nature. And one way to look at that rapid pace of change and how breathtaking it is if we look at how our industry of design, the medium, the internet as a medium that we design for has changed in very recent times. If we start from visual communications, we don't have to go too far back in history where the role of graphic design was communicating a message in a way that was engaging and it garners some kind of a reaction in its intended audience. Forward today, and visual design is this weapon that affects behavior of pretty much the whole humanity on a daily basis, not to mention that it's driving multi-million, billion-dollar businesses. Also the medium, the touch points that we are designing for have changed drastically. 10 plus years ago, we were designing for something like this. This was the constraint, this was the touch point that people experienced our designs in. Today, it's maybe something like this, and I don't know if we're going to be doing keynote presentations in 5 years, but if there would be a slide like this, it would probably be completely different. Also, at least I feel that how we create these things, the tools and techniques we use, like to me it feels like when I started professionally, like roughly 15 years ago, things were quite a lot more simple back then. This was my tool set 15 years ago. If you're creating things for the web or the mobile or whatever, nowadays, your workflow might look something like this. You have a vast amount of different pieces of software, platforms, libraries, whatever, covering every possible niche and need in creating a product. And we haven't even touched the worst part yet. For all the ability, for all the possibility, for all the opportunity that we have with the internet, the digital products that we're putting out there are also increasingly creating harm. So we can see everywhere that the experiences that we've created for people all around the world are having unintended consequences, where they are harmful to their users or they're being weaponized to create harm for other people. And I'm not saying that, like we designers, developers, project managers, all the people in this audience, that we have to shoulder all the responsibility alone, but we are somehow responsible because we are making those design decisions and those technology decisions. So I don't know about you, but all of this, for all the excitement that internet brings us, it sort of also makes me feel a little bit anxious. It makes me question, like what it is, this work that I'm doing, how can I be successful at it? What should I call myself? What should I be using to, to be able to strive for the kind of quality that is expected of me nowadays? I'm curious, how many of you are visual designers or graphic designers? So a fair bit of you. Haven't you heard that product designers are coming and taking your jobs? Who of you are using Sketch to create and draw things? Okay, so a fair few again. Newsflash, Sketch is yesterday. You should be using Figma today. I mean, all of these changes in how we describe our roles, our jobs, the tools that we're using are reflections of the changes that is happening around us. We're trying to keep up somehow. Trying to adapt, trying to still be meaningful, trying to meet the needs. But all the, conversation on roles and job descriptions and, tools and techniques aside, in my anxiety, I keep coming back to two questions. How do I keep putting good work into the world? And increasingly also, how do I not put harmful work into the world? So it's not the first time we as humans are, facing this kind of complexity where the environment, where the world is throwing something at us, where the means that we have at the moment are not working anymore, and we have to rethink how we approach solving the problems ahead of us. Since the Industrial Revolution, we humans have attacked problems by systemizing them, by creating processes to somehow ensure that the solutions that we produce are consistent, that we're being efficient, that what we're doing is repeatable, so that we can be successful the next time as well. This obviously applies for the world of design as well. There is like a endless amount of different visualizations, of descriptions of different methods, of processes that we should follow to ensure an expected end result in our work, to make sure that we consistently put out good work. And that's all good. And I'm using a bunch of that stuff that you can see on the screen as well. But I'm also thinking that's not enough anymore today. So I'm thinking, how can we move from this mindset or this way of working for aiming for consistency and efficiency and repeatability to adopting a mindset that would better enable us, allow us, prepare us to accept the change, respond to it, adapt to it, and learn from it when it eventually happens. Because if the internet has taught us one thing, is that everything's going to change again and again and again. So if you allow me, I've tried to describe my intention here with a template that some of you might be aware of. As a designer of digital products and services, I want to develop a healthy mindset towards observing change and learning from it, so I can keep putting quality work into the world that everyone benefits from. That's my goal. But where to start? Where can we draw inspiration from? I've been fairly lucky to be introduced to agile software development many years ago by people like who are super into it and who have adopted into their DNA. I'm using this as a reference because I think that it can work as a template on what I'm trying to do with you. When I started working with software developers that lived and breathed agile, I was pretty uncomfortable with it. I was struggling with how the way I was working, what I felt that needed to be done design-wise to reach the level of quality that I thought we were after would fit into this world of Kanban and sprints and Scrum and daily stand-ups and whatnot. But over time, I've learned that all the things that I just mentioned are just a product of the principles of the way of thinking that Agile is built upon. I'm not going to go into the debate to define what Agile is. It's a contested word. There's good and bad sides to it. But what, to me, the core principle behind all of Agile is this question of, how can we deliver real value to the people that we're creating this thing for as early and as often as possible to see what kind of effect it has and if it's really creating benefit for those people. And I think we can use this as a template. So I've taken a stab at creating principles for the modern designer that is comfortable in the fluid nature of internet. And I would like to try and deliver them to you and see if they resonate at all. The quickest of you might already know that there's 4 of them, but I've been told that nice, round, even numbers engage the audience better. So I've taken some liberties. And this is a work in progress, so maybe I'll come up with a 5th one in the future. But anyway, let's dig into these 4. 1, a fluid designer maximizes diversity of thought. 2, a fluid designer minimizes the feedback loop in their work. 3, a fluid designer disregards the notion of ready when it comes to design. And 4, a fluid designer acts as agent of chaos. What I mean about maximizing the diversity of thought is that I think we designers have a history of mystifying the design process. I don't think that historically we've been really good at, naturally involving other than designers into the creation, into the process of design. And I think this is, a mindset or, a way of working that has slowly been going away with the introduction of, the school of design thinking and whatnot, co-design, etc. But, I think it's like really important that we get rid of this notion of exclusivity in design, in the design process altogether. Just, at least, if not for any other reason, for the fact that the kind of problems that are being thrown at us, the kind of skills and means that they need to be solved are not solvable by design only. So for us to be able to solve those problems, if we want to be solving those problems, we need to involve people into the design process. We can still be the guardians, we can still be the facilitators, we can be the drivers of the design, but we can't do it alone, regardless if we want to or not. Also, most of you probably know this term user-centered design and are trying to work according to those principles. And I think we need to go beyond that. I think, or I hope that we could start, approaching the work instead of, we go and then find out your needs and wishes and motives and form solutions based on that information and saying, we're designing this thing for you. I wish that we could change our ways of working to say that, or to be able to say that, we're just designing this thing with you. So find ways to involve the people that we're designing this thing for into the process more heavily, integrate into the process so that, we're not using them as source of information and inspiration only. And the third point, promoting increasing diversity in your team. This is a topic that is difficult to pack into a single sentence, but it's super important. I think, like historically, the domain of technology, we're still suffering from lack of diversity. We're mostly white heterosexual males, basically, and again, these people in this room, we cannot solve this on our own, but at least what we can start with is that in our teams, in our environments, we can start actively promoting the importance of cultural diversity in the teams that make the decisions regarding digital products. Okay, number 2, minimizing the feedback loop. So feedback loop basically means to me is that it's a way for us to, or me to understand how is my design flawed and how can I improve it somehow. And I think we're all experienced in setting goals in our projects, like what are we trying to achieve with this, what do we think that will be successful here? But I'd like for us to start, setting learning as the goal for, what we're doing, the ultimate goal. And what this would mean instead is that instead of, for example, following strict step-by-step processes in our work, now we do research and discovery, now we do prototyping or whatever, we think about that what is the most critical thing that we need to learn next to be able to make better decisions in our work and choose the tools, the approach, the focus accordingly to it. Usually, in my experience, this boils down to making something and putting it out in the world as soon as possible and seeing what kind of effects it has and how it's benefiting or disbenefiting people. 3, disregarding the notion of ready. If anything, like if we think about the nature of the internet that I've been bringing up here, there is never ready in this. But we still think about, our design artifacts as either as incomplete or ready when we're designing things. And I think it's dangerous for us to label work in that way, or label work as like, ready for design. We know enough now that we can start designing, or, I've put the pixels in place enough so that we can start coding. What that potentially, in my opinion, creates is that erodes our sense of responsibility to our decisions. So us as designers, we need to understand that, we will be forever responsible for the decisions that we're doing, and we would need to act accordingly. Last one, acting as an agent of chaos, and I think this is probably the most important one in my opinion. Basically, it means that we should actively seek out the bad sides, the dark side of our design decisions. It means that we have to actively imagine the poorest possible ways that someone could misuse your design. How someone could, harm themselves by engaging with your design, or how someone could weaponize them to cause harm for others. Also, another important point related to this that sort of like, also relates with the exclusivity in design that I was talking about earlier is that, at least my workstation is like the state-of-the-art laptop. I have a state-of-the-art extra display. I have the latest iPhone in my pocket. And that's, the tools that we're designing with most of the time. But, that's the tools that maybe 1% in the world has, if even that. So we need to think about, how can we deliberately start to worsen the conditions that we design in and actually start designing for the 99% who don't have the same accessibility or access to the same technology that most of us are using. And finally, if no one else but us, we should be asking the hard questions actively in the work that we're doing from the people that we're doing the work with, that, are we making conscious decisions? Are we making ethical decisions? Have we considered what kind of impact, unintended impacts our decisions could be making? So, I'll be the first to admit that, or it would be very hypocritical for me to just put all of this in you and expect that you start somehow following those rules. We all have different levels of agency, capability, authority to affect the situation around us. For some people, I'm saying that, you should include the people that you're designing for more heavily into your process. But for some people, that might be just physically impossible. And I acknowledge that. But what I think where we should start from is that, if you feel that some of these principles resonate with you, maybe they can help shine a light into the way that you're currently working and maybe highlight some of the limitations that your environment has currently. And the first step is acknowledging those things, and maybe then we can start gradually improving the way we work. And as a final note, I'm also the first to acknowledge that I'm not able to live and design according to these principles at the moment. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm putting them out here, is that, I want to make myself more accountable in the decision making that I do every day. So at least there's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannu. Thank you very much for the presentation. So please have a seat. You gave us a lot of food for thought.
I hope so.
So you have a very important role as a creative director and lead. And we would like to ask you, how do you guide the team through these terms that you just mentioned? You mentioned ethics and design systems. So the first question is, how do you guide your team through this terminology?
I talked a little bit about agency just now, and I acknowledge the fact that because I am in a leading position in my team, in the work that I'm doing, that I have more authority than others. So, that comes with a certain responsibility to make good, sustainable decisions in our everyday work. So I think it starts from that, acknowledging, the kind of leverage that had been given to me with my level of seniority. But I think it also is about actively probing and sensing and listening to my team and utilizing their capability of seeing where we can improve and where we are making decisions that might have some kind of consequences that are unintentional. And my team the people, you know, actively driving the work, they are the best to notice that. And it's my responsibility that, you know, they have the means to voice that out, and then I help them to act on it.
Is it easy for you to also describe these terms to the client? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to deliver something. And how often do you have a conflict between what the client wants and what you and your team stands as a philosophy?
I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have in general, you know, as a community, is that design, for very, very understandable reasons, is very business driven, you know, that quite often when we're doing digital product work, the success is measured by how the business benefits from the product. And, you know, I don't have a silver bullet to that. I don't have a great answer to you. I hope that, you know, what's making me sort of like feel a little bit better about this is that if you look at society in general, we're sort of like, as a society, we've woken up to the fact that, you know, these digital things that you know, we're interacting with every day are not necessarily good for us. And that's something, you know, when we en masse start reacting negatively to interacting with these digital things, it will eventually be seen in the bottom line of companies as well. And then hopefully we can start being more considerate on business level over time as well. But at least what we can do now is to keep actively talking about it and make everybody more aware of the potential consequences of different decisions that we're making.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannu.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.